First contact gone wrong. The Nexeri warship Indomitable hung in Earth's orbit like a crystalline dagger, its translucent hull refracting sunlight into rainbow patterns across its surface. Admiral Zextal stood on the command bridge, his iridescent scales flickering with barely contained contempt as he studied the primitive blue planet below. Pathetic, he hissed, multiple rows of teeth gleaming. Their largest vessels are barely the size of our scout ships. Their weapons are crude projectiles and chemical explosives. They haven't even colonized their own moon. His executive officer, Sub-Commander Vera, brought up a holographic display of Earth's defensive capabilities. The humans appear to lack any meaningful orbital defenses, Admiral. Their most advanced satellites are purely observational. They would be helpless against even a single ship of our fleet. As expected, Zextal's face frills expanded in satisfaction. The Nexeri Empire had conquered dozens of worlds across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Each victory further proved their biological and technological superiority. Earth would be no different, but protocol demanded they at least attempt diplomatic contact before conquest. The Admiral activated the ship's communication array, broadcasting on all frequencies in perfect English, courtesy of their advanced translation matrices. People of Earth, I am Admiral Zextal of the Nexeri Empire. Your world has been chosen for integration into our glorious civilization. Submit peacefully and accept your place as a protectorate species, or face immediate military action. You have 1 planetary rotation to respond. The message was met with hours of silence. Zextal had almost decided to begin the invasion when a response finally came through. This is Secretary General Chen of the United Earth Council. We receive your message with both concern and hope. While we must firmly decline any terms of submission, we welcome the opportunity for peaceful dialogue between our peoples. We invite you to send representatives to our headquarters in Geneva to discuss diplomatic relations. Zextal's scales rippled with amusement. They actually believe they have a choice in the matter. How charmingly naive. He was about to order the first wave of attacks when Vera interrupted. Admiral, massive solar prominence detected. Class X-20 solar flare incoming. The Admiral's amusement vanished. Their crystalline ships were nearly invulnerable to conventional weapons, but their quantum matrices were surprisingly vulnerable to certain types of radiation. A solar flare of that magnitude could. The wave of charged particles slammed into the Nexeri fleet before they could raise their shields. Zextal watched in horror as the quantum matrices that powered their ships began to destabilize. Warning klaxons blared across the bridge as systems failed in cascade. All ships reporting critical failures. Vera shouted over the chaos. Quantum cores are going critical. We need to execute emergency shutdowns immediately. But without power to their engines, that would leave them helpless, trapped in deteriorating orbits around a primitive world they'd just threatened to conquer. Zextal's scales turned pale with the realization. Send a distress call. He forced out the words, each one burning his pride like acid. To whom, Admiral? The nearest Nexeri forces are weeks away. No other spacefaring races would aid us after our recent expansions. And the humans. Send it to everyone. Zextal roared. Better the shame of rescue than death in the void. Hours passed. The fleet's orbits continued to decay. Emergency power cells were running dry. Hope faded with each passing minute. Until, Admiral, we're detecting ships launching from Earth's surface. Dozens of them. Small vessels, chemical propulsion. Zextal watched the crude human ships approach on auxiliary sensors. Their design was laughably primitive, basic pressure vessels with simple chemical rockets, but they were advancing in a clear search and rescue pattern. They're coming to help us. Vira's voice carried equal parts disbelief and hope. After we threatened to conquer them. Incoming transmission from the lead human vessel, the communications officer announced. A human female's voice filled the bridge. Nexeri Fleet, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the International Space Rescue Service. We've detected multiple critical failures in your ship's power systems and degrading orbits. We're here to help stabilize your vessels and evacuate crew if necessary. Please respond with status and immediate needs." Zextal stood frozen, his mighty empire's facade of superiority crumbling around him. These primitives they'd dismissed so easily were now their only hope for survival. "Pride has no place in survival," he finally muttered. "Accept their assistance, and convey our gratitude." What followed was a masterclass in human ingenuity and adaptation. The Earth ships might have been primitive, but their crews had centuries of experience working in space with limited resources. They quickly developed methods to stabilize the Nexari vessels using simple physics and mechanical solutions rather than advanced technology. Human engineers, working in bulky spacesuits that looked like ancient diving gear to Nexari eyes, found ways to safely discharge the destabilized quantum matrices using basic electromagnetic principles. Their solutions weren't elegant, but they worked. The humans also demonstrated an incredible tolerance for risk, often putting themselves in danger to save Nexari crew members. When a power surge threatened to breach the containment on the Indomitable's quantum core, 3 human engineers physically entered the radiation-flooded chamber to manually activate the emergency release valves. "Why?" Zextal asked Captain Chen during one of their coordination calls. "Why help those who came to conquer you?" There was a pause before she responded. "Because it's the right thing to do. Because every spacefaring civilization knows the void is hostile enough without us making more enemies. And because maybe, just maybe, this is a chance to turn potential enemies into friends." The Admiral's scales shifted to a deep blue of contemplation. The human's response had shattered every preconception he'd held about them. Their technological simplicity masked an incredible adaptability. Their apparent weakness concealed an iron core of determination, and their primitive nature somehow coexisted with an advanced ethical framework that even the Nexari, for all their supposed superiority, struggled to match. As the rescue operation continued, Zextal found himself reevaluating everything he thought he knew about strength, civilization, and progress. Perhaps there was more than one path to greatness among the stars, and perhaps the Nexari Empire had something to learn from these surprising humans after all. Looking down at Earth, no longer with contempt but with growing respect, Admiral Zextal made a decision that would change the course of 2 civilizations. The Nexari Empire would not be expanding today. Instead, they would be opening diplomatic relations with humanity, not as conquerors, but as equals. The humans had earned that much and more. "Captain Chin," he called over the comm. "When this crisis is resolved, I believe we should accept your earlier invitation to Geneva. We have much to discuss, and I suspect, much to learn from each other." The response came back filled with warm humor. "We'd be delighted, Admiral. Though perhaps next time, let's skip the invasion fleet and start with a simple hello." For the first time in his long career, Admiral Zextal found himself laughing along with a species he'd planned to conquer. It was, he realized, a promising start to a very different kind of first contact than he'd imagined. The rescue mission. News of the Nexari fleet's rescue spread across Earth like wildfire. Within days, the international space community mobilized for a challenge unlike any they'd faced before, salvaging a dozen advanced alien warships stranded in deteriorating orbits around Earth. Commander Maya Rodriguez stood in Mission Control Houston, studying the holographic display of the rescue operation. The Nexari vessels glowed like dying stars, their quantum cores still dangerously unstable despite initial containment efforts. "Status report," she called out to her international team. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, head of the engineering division, stepped forward. "The good news is we've managed to stabilize the immediate radiation threat. The bad news, their quantum matrices are still degrading. We have maybe 72 hours before total systems failure." "And what happens then?" "Best case, the ships become very expensive space debris. Worst case, they explode with enough force to knock out every satellite in low Earth orbit." Maya rubbed her temples. "So no pressure." The Nexari weren't making things easier. Despite their desperate situation, many of their officers remained reluctant to share technical information with primitive humans. Admiral Zextal had ordered cooperation, but centuries of ingrained superiority didn't disappear overnight. "Commander," a junior technician called out, "we're detecting power fluctuations in the Nexeri flagship's secondary systems." Maya activated the comlink. "Indomitable, this is Houston. We're reading unstable power signatures. What's your status?" Static crackled before Sub-Commander Vera's voice came through. "Our auxiliary power grid is failing. Emergency systems at 15% and falling. We have multiple hull breaches from micrometeorite impacts our weakened shields couldn't deflect." "Understood. Stand by for emergency evacuation." "Negative, Houston." Vera's voice carried equal parts fear and determination. "We have crew members trapped in the lower decks. Our internal transport systems are offline. We cannot reach them before life support fails." Maya's mind raced through options. The Nexeri ship's internal layouts were a maze of crystalline corridors and quantum technology. Human rescue teams would be working blind, but they couldn't just leave those crew members to die. "Dr. Tanaka, what about the experimental navigation system?" The engineer's eyes widened. "The neural mapping interface, but it's still in testing. We've never tried it with alien architecture. No time like the present. Prep the rescue team. I'm going up." Despite protests, Maya was suited up and aboard a rescue shuttle within the hour. The experimental system, a network of quantum sensors linked directly to the human nervous system, was their best hope of navigating the Nexeri ship's complex interior. As they approached the Indomitable, Maya activated the neural interface. Her consciousness expanded, merging with the quantum sensors. The Nexeri ship's structure appeared in her mind like a three-dimensional blueprint, power flows and structural damage highlighted in warning colors. "Beginning approach," she announced to both Houston and the Nexeri bridge. "Detecting multiple critical failures in the lower hull sections. Life signs present but weakening." The rescue shuttle docked with practiced precision. Maya led her team through the airlock, their magnetic boots compensating for the failing artificial gravity. The neural interface guided them through corridors that would have been a labyrinth otherwise. "3 levels down," she directed. "Watch for structural damage. The hull integrity in this section is at 40%. They found the trapped Nexeri crew in an engineering subchamber, sealed in by emergency bulkheads and failing life support. The alien scales had dulled to a sickly gray, their breathing labored in the thin atmosphere. Standard rescue protocols went out the window. The Nexeri were too large for human stretchers, their environmental needs different from Earth standard. Maya's team improvised, using cargo netting and emergency oxygen adapters. "Houston, we need emergency medical support," Maya called as they carefully moved the survivors. "Our alien physiology database is theoretical at best." "Acknowledged. We're coordinating with Nexeri medical staff. Just get them out of there." The rescue almost ended in disaster when a power surge caused a secondary explosion, cutting off their primary return route. But the neural interface revealed an alternative path through maintenance access ways. Technically too small for Nexeri, but workable for the more flexible humans. "Trust us," Maya told the conscious survivors as her team prepared to move them through the tight spaces. "We know it's undignified, but it beats the alternative." Hours later, Maya watched from the rescue shuttle as the last survivor was transferred to the Nexeri medical ship. Her neural implant was giving her a splitting headache, but the satisfaction of a successful rescue made it worthwhile. Sub-Commander Vera's voice came over the comm. "Commander Rodriguez, we owe you and your team a debt we cannot repay. You risked your lives using untested technology to save our people." "That's what we do," Maya replied simply. "Though I won't pretend the neural interface data we gathered isn't valuable. Your ship architecture is fascinating." There was a pause before Vera responded, her tone carrying new respect. Perhaps we could arrange a technical exchange. Purely for safety purposes, of course, to facilitate any future emergencies." Maya smiled. Of course. Though let's hope we can move straight to the technical exchange next time and skip the emergency part. As the rescue shuttle returned to Earth, Maya reflected on how the universe had a way of forcing different peoples together. The Nexeri had come as conquerors but were learning to be allies instead. Their technology might be advanced, but humanity's greatest strengths had proven to be more fundamental: adaptability, courage, and an unwavering determination to help others, even at great risk to themselves. The next few weeks would be crucial as the salvage operations continued, but something had fundamentally changed in Earth's relationship with the Nexeri. Pride had given way to gratitude, and dismissal had been replaced by respect. It wasn't the first contact anyone had expected, but it was beginning to look like one that might change both civilizations for the better. Understanding the enemy. The Geneva International Conference Center buzzed with an energy unlike anything in human diplomatic history. 2 months after the rescue operation, representatives from Earth and the Nexeri Empire gathered for the first official diplomatic summit. The contrast between species couldn't have been starker. The iridescent, reptilian Nexeri in their crystalline tech armor alongside humans in their traditional business attire. Dr. Amara Patel adjusted her universal translator as she prepared to meet with the Nexeri cultural delegation. As Earth's leading xenoanthropologist, she had the unprecedented task of understanding the civilization that had, until recently, planned to conquer humanity. Their society appears to be built entirely around the concept of technological supremacy, she explained to the assembled human diplomatic team. The Nexeri measure worth strictly by scientific advancement. It's why they found us so disappointing at first. Admiral Zextel, now serving as the chief Nexeri diplomat, tilted his head in acknowledgement. We were blind to other forms of advancement. Your species lacks our quantum technology, yet you've developed problem-solving skills and adaptability we never considered important. The revelation had shaken Nexeri society to its core. Their empire had expanded through technological superiority, but the rescue operation had demonstrated that technology alone wasn't everything. Human primitives had saved their most advanced ships using basic physics and raw ingenuity. Tell me, Dr. Patel, Zextel continued, his scales shifting to a curious blue. How does your species maintain unity without technological dominance? Our empire is held together by our superior capabilities. Yet Earth, despite its technological variations, stands as one when needed. Amara considered her response carefully. We're united by something more fundamental, our shared humanity. Our differences make us stronger because they give us different perspectives, different solutions to problems. The discussion was interrupted by an urgent communication from Nexeri space. The Imperial capital was in chaos. News of their fleet's rescue by primitives had sparked a philosophical crisis. Young Nexeri were questioning centuries of Imperial doctrine about technological supremacy. They're calling it the human paradox, Sub-Commander Vera reported via holographic link. How could a less advanced species succeed where we failed? The conservative factions are demanding we suppress this knowledge. The progressives want to learn from Earth. Civil unrest is spreading. The human diplomats exchanged worried glances. A civil war in a quantum-capable civilization could have devastating consequences for the galaxy. Amara saw an opportunity. Perhaps this crisis is actually an opportunity for both our peoples. The Nexeri Empire needs to evolve beyond pure technological supremacy. Earth needs access to advanced technology to solve our growing environmental and resource challenges. We could help each other. Admiral Zextel's scales flickered with interest. Elaborate. A true partnership. Earth can teach the Nexeri about adaptation, innovation, and unity despite differences. In return, the Nexeri can help guide Earth's technological development, not as conquerors, but as mentors. The proposal was radical by Nexeri standards. Their empire had never considered a true partnership with a lesser civilization, but recent events had proven that their definition of lesser needed revision. Over the next several days, humans and Nexari worked together to draft a framework for cooperation. It wasn't easy. Centuries of Nexari superiority complex clashed with human pride and independence, but both sides were motivated by the recognition that they needed each other. The breakthrough came during a joint scientific demonstration. A team of human engineers, working with basic tools and materials, solved a quantum stability problem that had plagued Nexari scientists for decades. Their solution wasn't elegant or technologically advanced. It was brilliantly simple, using fundamental physical principles in a way the Nexari had never considered. "This is what we've been missing," Zextal announced to the assembled delegates. The Nexari Empire advanced so far, so fast, that we forgot the fundamental joy of discovery and innovation. We became users of technology rather than true scientists. Amara watched as human and Nexari scientists began excitedly exchanging ideas, the barriers of pride and prejudice falling away in the face of shared curiosity. It was a beautiful sight. Two species learning that different paths to knowledge could lead to the same destination. "We need to show this to both our peoples," she suggested. "Let everyone see what we can achieve together." The joint human-Nexari broadcast that followed reached every corner of Earth and the Nexari Empire. It showed highlights of the rescue operation, demonstrations of cooperative problem-solving, and the beginnings of a partnership that promised to benefit both civilizations. The response was overwhelming. The Nexari conservative factions lost support as their people embraced the possibility of a new way forward. On Earth, the prospect of accessing advanced technology while maintaining human independence and innovation sparked a wave of optimism and creativity. As the Geneva summit drew to a close, Amara found herself sharing a quiet moment with Admiral Zextal in the conference center's garden. "You know," she said, watching the sunset paint the sky in colors that made the Admiral's scales shimmer, "sometimes the greatest strength is being able to admit when you were wrong and learn from it." Zextal's scales shifted to a thoughtful purple. Indeed, the Nexari Empire came to Earth believing we would find primitive beings in need of conquest. Instead, we found teachers we desperately needed. Perhaps that is the greatest discovery of all. The coming storm. The warning came at midnight UTC. Deep space sensors detected a massive Nexari battle fleet dropping out of quantum space at the edge of the solar system. Unlike the diplomatic vessels Earth had grown accustomed to over the past months, these ships bristled with weapons. "Imperial High Command has rejected our treaty," Admiral Zextal announced grimly to the United Earth Council. "They branded me a traitor and sent the First Strike Fleet to correct our mistake. They mean to conquer Earth by force." The approaching fleet dwarfed the previous Nexari presence. Over 50 capital ships, each carrying enough firepower to level a continent. Traditional military doctrine said Earth didn't stand a chance. But Earth and its Nexari allies had spent the last 3 months preparing for this possibility. In orbit, a network of seemingly primitive satellites concealed quantum-enhanced cores, a hybrid of human ingenuity and Nexari technology. On the ground, engineers had adapted Nexari defensive systems to work with Earth's power grid. And in secret facilities worldwide, the first human Nexari joint fighter squadrons waited for deployment. Captain Wei Chen climbed into the cockpit of her hybrid fighter. The ship looked like a standard Earth aerospace craft on the outside, but its systems were a revolutionary blend of human and Nexari engineering. Simple physical controls operated complex quantum systems, allowing human pilots to fly advanced alien technology using skills they already possessed. "Remember," she told her squadron over the comm, "we're not fighting for Earth alone anymore. We're fighting for a future where different species can learn from each other instead of conquering each other." The First Strike Fleet emerged from quantum space with overwhelming force. Their commander, Grand Admiral Ixthor, transmitted his demands: immediate surrender of Earth and execution of all traitorous Nexari. Earth's response came in the form of a single transmission from the combined human Nexari Defense Command: no. The battle began in the outer solar system. The First Strike Fleet, expecting to face primitive human defenses, instead encountered sophisticated quantum disruption fields. Their sensors, calibrated to detect advanced technology, missed the simple kinetic weapons platforms hidden among Earth's orbital infrastructure. Captain Chen led her squadron through the chaos. Human reflexes and intuition, paired with Nexari quantum systems creating an unpredictable fighting style, the Imperial forces struggled to counter. The hybrid fighters darted between capital ships, their weapons precisely targeting vulnerabilities that only their Nexari allies could have revealed. On the Nexari flagship, Grand Admiral Ixthor watched in growing fury as his supposedly superior force was fought to a standstill by what he had dismissed as primitives and traitors. Impossible. They're using our own technology against us. No, his tactical officer corrected. They're using their technology with ours. The combinations. We never imagined some of these applications were possible. The turning point came when the First Strike Fleet attempted to push past the defensive line toward Earth. They triggered what appeared to be a primitive minefield. Simple nuclear devices that any Nexari ship could easily withstand. But when the nukes detonated, they created a cascading quantum resonance that turned the fleet's own shields against them. Beautiful, isn't it? Admiral Zextal commented to the United Earth Council as they watched the battle unfold. Human nuclear physics combined with quantum field theory. Neither of our species would have conceived of this alone. The First Strike Fleet began to retreat. Their confident advance turned into a fighting withdrawal. But they had one final card to play. Grand Admiral Ixthor ordered his remaining ships to configure their quantum cores for maximum overload, a suicide attack that would devastate the inner solar system. Captain Chen's squadron detected the power buildup. They're going to blow their cores. If those quantum detonations chain react. The solution came from an unexpected source. A junior human engineer, monitoring the quantum frequencies, noticed a pattern in the overload sequence. It's like a cascade failure in a normal reactor, she realized. If we can disrupt the primary sequence. Working together, human and Nexari technicians quickly developed a counter-resonance pulse. The hybrid fighters delivered the pulse in a synchronized attack, their human pilots executing maneuvers the Nexari computers calculated impossible. The First Strike Fleet's quantum cores shut down harmlessly, leaving the ships powerless in space. The battle was over. In the aftermath, as Earth ships began rescue operations for the defeated Nexari forces, Grand Admiral Ixthor faced a reality his empire had never contemplated. How? He demanded of his captors. How did primitives defeat our greatest fleet? Because we stopped being primitives and conquerors, Captain Chen answered as she supervised the evacuation of his flagship. We became partners instead. And together, we're stronger than either of us could be alone. The battle marked a turning point in galactic history. The Nexari Empire, faced with the undeniable success of human-Nexari cooperation, began a transformation. The age of conquest gave way to an era of partnership and mutual advancement. And in the heart of the now empty battlefield, a hybrid fighter squadron traced victory patterns against the stars, their maneuvers a dance of human grace and Nexari precision, a symbol of what different species could achieve together. A new alliance. 1 year after the Battle of Earth, representatives from 100 worlds gathered at the newly constructed Galactic Cooperation Center in orbit around Mars. The defeat of the Nexari First Strike Fleet had sent shockwaves through the galaxy, forcing many civilizations to reevaluate their attitudes toward primitive species. Dr. Amara Patel stood beside Admiral Zextal as they prepared to address the assembled delegates. The chamber was a testament to human-Nexari cooperation. Nexari quantum technology merged seamlessly with human design principles to create a space that was both beautiful and functional. The age of conquest is over, Zextal announced to the gathered species. The Nexari Empire has learned that true strength lies not in domination, but in cooperation. We stand here today to propose a new galactic order. The evidence was undeniable. In just 1 year, Human-Nexari cooperation had produced advances that neither species could have achieved alone. Quantum-enhanced fusion reactors were solving Earth's energy crisis. Human-designed neural interfaces were revolutionizing Nexari technology. Joint exploration teams were pushing the boundaries of known space. But not everyone embraced change. The coalition of technologically advanced species rose to object, arguing that allowing lesser civilizations equal status would slow progress. Captain Wei Chen, now commander of the Joint Defense Force, activated a holographic display. It showed recordings from the Battle of Earth, hybrid fighters executing impossible maneuvers, primitive weapons enhanced by quantum physics achieving extraordinary results, and most importantly, two different species working in perfect harmony. Progress isn't measured by technology alone, she declared. It's measured by our ability to grow, to adapt, and to work together. The Human-Nexari Alliance proves that different approaches make us stronger, not weaker. The debate raged for days, but gradually, evidence of Human-Nexari success won over even the staunchest critics. The Galactic Cooperation Accord was signed, establishing new principles of interstellar relations based on mutual respect and collaboration. As the ceremony concluded, Dr. Patel found Admiral Zextal in the observation dome, watching Earth rise over Mars' horizon. "Did you ever imagine this when you first entered Earth's orbit?" she asked. "Never," he admitted, scales shimmering with amusement. "I came to conquer a primitive world. Instead, I found the future of our galaxy." The human and Nexari stood together, watching their planets shine against the cosmic dark, no longer conqueror and conquered, but partners in humanity's first steps into a larger universe. Across the stars, a new era had begun. The galaxy was learning what humans had known all along, that true strength lies not in superiority, but in the courage to reach out, learn from others, and grow together. The weak had not just survived. They had shown the way forward.